Alistair, lifeforcetraumahealing.com. Today I'm going to talk to you about addiction. What is an addiction? How do you treat an addiction? And I'm going to do lots of these about addiction over the next weeks and months. Okay, so it's not all going to be on this little video. Okay, so I've treated thousands of people with addiction over the last 19 years. I'm in recovery from addiction myself. So what is an addiction? Okay, is it a disease? Is it because of trauma in childhood? I did a master's in addiction counselling. They say it's biopsychosocial. There's genetic factors. It can be created by trauma. We could argue about that ad infinitum. Okay, but I'm more about how do we help people with an addiction? How do you recognise an addiction? Okay, so an addiction is something that once you start, you have little or no control over it. Okay, once you have one drink of alcohol, if you have an alcohol addiction, then it's hard to control how much more you're going to have. No one tries to get a nicotine smoker, to do controlled smoking. It's just accepted. It's abstinence based. So if you've got a serious addiction, it's abstinence based is the way forward. Not trying to control it. Obviously, some people want to try and control it, and I work with them. And you have to make clear boundaries. Okay, well, if this happens, will that prove that you can't control it? And they go, yeah, but anyway, abstinence based is the best way forward. Okay, once you have one, you have little or no control over how much you're going to have. It affects your thinking. Okay, don't even notice I'm lying. Denial. People have denial if they have an addiction. They lie to themselves. It'll be different this time. I'll just have one. No one will know. I don't care anyway. I just won't tell anyone this time. All these kind of justifications, rationalizations, minimizations are rife in the mind of the person with an addiction. Okay, a classic one is the continued use despite adverse consequences. Okay, so if you have a drink and you end up blacking out, you don't remember what happened, and you cause chaos. Your average person goes, hey, do you know what? Drinking doesn't really agree with me. I think I'll leave that. But if you've got an addiction, you'll be like, I just work out the formula so I can control and enjoy my drinking. Okay, I'm talking about alcohol, but an addiction goes with the person, not with the. So what I mean by that is, yes, you might have a chemical addiction to different drugs or alcohol, but you might also be a workaholic, a sex addict, a gambling addict, a compulsive overeater, anorexic, bulimic, shopping and spending addict. You might be a compulsive helper. You can't stop helping people to your own detriment. All these things can be part of someone's addiction because it goes with the person. And underneath the addiction, because addiction is used to medicate emotions, to change people's feelings, there's often unresolved trauma or a dysfunctional relationship with yourself, often coming all the way from childhood, and and there's psychological aspects to an addiction. Core beliefs of an addict might be, I'm worthless, I'm bad, I can't trust anyone else. If you really knew me, you would leave me. And I can't trust anyone to meet my needs, and my most important need is for sex or for alcohol or whatever, So there's some key things about an addiction. Tolerance is another one. You end up being able to do more of that, or needing more of that behavior or drug to get the same effect. Okay, there's some of the key kind of symptoms of addiction. Okay, now if something's causing a problem in your life, it's a problem. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you call it an addiction. It doesn't matter if it's a disease or it's not a disease. There's a huge debate. Is it a disease or no? If it helps you to get into recovery, to believe it's a disease, brilliant. If it helps you to get into recovery, to think it's not a disease, brilliant. Okay, it's whatever's going to help you. And also, you can't beat it by yourself if you have an addiction. Okay, because like I said, you lie to yourself in your mind if you have an addiction. You can't trust your thinking all the time. Okay, so you need to get recovery in a community. All the 12-step fellowships, Alcoholics Anonymous, there's anonymous fellowships for every addiction you can think of, because it works. Yeah, the 12-step program works for people. But you might do it through another community like Smart Recovery, you know, but you can't do it by yourself. There's a great book called Addiction as an Attachment Disorder, you know, which is talking about how you have to have healthy relationships to help with your feelings. Yes, you can use various techniques to help you overcome cravings, like EFT tapping. I'm going to be doing a demonstration of that this week. I've written something about that this week. But you can't rely on just trying to overcome cravings to overcome an addiction, because you can have implicit cravings, implicit cognition. That means thoughts you're not aware of. So the person with an addiction, they end up just sort of like with a drink in their hand and they don't know how they got there until we do a relapse prevention session with them, and they've done these seemingly irrelevant decisions, SIDS, that have guided them like a heat-seeking missile to their addiction, again to a relapse. But in their mind, they weren't aware of that until they actually relapse. Okay, so I'm going to be doing lots more videos about treating addiction, different strategies, including EFT and tapping and things like that. I'll be going into what is the 12-step program, you know, different strategies. Okay, so if you have an addiction though, they tend to be progressive and get worse over time, and they can end up killing you, okay, for a serious addiction. So get help. Don't try and do it by yourself. You can contact me. You can contact one of these anonymous fellowships. There's treatment centres. There's lots of options available, okay? So there's my first little bit about what is an addiction. I hope that's been helpful. If you want to find out more, please contact me at lifeforcetraumahealing.com, Alistair at lifeforcetraumahealing.com. Blessings to you, and I will see you again soon.